Hello, we are Laura and Christina from Denmark, and we are going to talk about the smartphone and online and offline identity. We live in a world that is constantly changing. We are being bombarded with new opportunities in the TV, on the internet, and in public.
The media plays a huge role in these years, and they affect us on a daily basis. Nowadays, a lot of communication takes place on social media, which has become constantly available since the smartphone has become almost common property. In this presentation, we want to show you some statistics of the use of smartphones in Denmark from 2015. Furthermore, we want to talk about the smartphone and how it has changed over the last couple of years.
We will also define what an online identity is. And finally, we will discuss the merge of being online and offline. And when can we even talk about being offline? Our presentation is based on academic articles and statistics from a Danish database. We have chosen to show you some statistics about the use of smartphones in Denmark. We found the information in a Danish research made in 2015 by TNS Gallup, which is a leader in market research, global market information, and business analysis. The data was collected in 2015 in the weeks 18 and 19. The target group was men and women in the age group 15 to 75 years. 2,174 interviews was made, and they are among other things focusing on gender, age, education, and regions. Denmark is a small country in Europe with nearly 6 million inhabitants.
Here you see two graphs. The one to the left shows how many percent of Danes who owns a smartphone in the years between 2011 and 2015. The graph to the right shows how many percent who doesn't. As you can see, the number of people who owns a smartphone has increased tremendously in these 4 years, by 44% exactly.
This graph shows the difference between the use of smartphones according to men and women in 5 different age groups. What you can see is that in Denmark, more women than men are using a smartphone in 2015. The age group of 15 to 29-year-olds are using the smartphone the most compared to the other groups. This is not surprising, since they are part of the Generation Z, which consists of the digital inhabitants.
Here you see which brand is the most popular on the market in 2011 and 2015 in Denmark. It is easy to see that Apple and Samsung are slowly taking over the market. Almost 50% of Danes own an iPhone in 2015, which has had influence on especially Nokia, who has gone from 29% to 7% of the market in only 4 years.
The smartphone has changed. Payment via the phone, mobile pay, which is a Danish application with which you can send money to your friends, a personal assistant with alarms and help to online shopping. You can have your friends in your pocket everywhere you go. Media content is always available, for example with apps like Spotify and Netflix. News are available 24/7, and even dating, with apps like Tinder and Grindr. And maps, you can never get lost with Google Maps, for example. Pictures and videos, they are always available no matter where you are.
You may not have heard of nomophobia, but chances are you either suffer from it or you know someone who does. In short, the condition NOMO stands for no mobile incidentally, and it is described as having a fear of being disconnected from a smartphone. Before we move on, we would like to show you a short video about online identity. We found a video on YouTube. Now we would like to ask you guys, when are you actually offline? Are you presenting the real you on social medias? And do you know the feeling of nomophobia?
Identity has many definitions, but without getting too metaphysical, we can sum it up in a few words. You are who you are and what you do. Simply put, your identity is the sum of your characteristics, including your birthplace and birthday, the schools you attended, your shoe size, and so on. Some of those characteristics never change, such as your birthday, and some change over time, such as your hair color.
But what is an online identity? Similarly, when you're using the internet, your online identity is the sum of your characteristics and interactions. Because you interact differently with each website you visit, each of those websites will have a different picture of who you are and what you do. Sometimes the different representations of you are referred to as partial identities because none of them has the full and true picture of who you are. Your online identity is not the same as your real-world identity because the characteristics you represent online differ from the characteristics you represent in the physical world.
Every website you interact with has its own idea of your identity because each one you visit sees you and your characteristics differently. We are using smartphones most of the time, and when not, it's still in our pockets ready to function as a part of our social self. It has become a part of who we are. As you can see in this model, your own persona is defined by social network accounts like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and it is not the same as your identity, which is the complete set of characteristics which define you. So is it possible to set up a strong dichotomy between being online and offline in relation to sociality and identity on the internet?
Not anymore, especially because children and young people nowadays grow up with the internet and on social medias. Social medias and the use of smartphone are these days a part of everyday life and friendships. The use of social network is for many children and young people related to the offline life and being together with friends. In this way, the online and offline identity merges. The internet and especially social networks are an extension of everyday life, just like the smartphone.
And this is the reason why it doesn't make sense to talk about cyberspace as a world that is separated from the physical world. It is the same world that we live in, and as a scientist in social medias, it is important to understand how these medias are a part of our daily life and which importance they have for the way we live. And in conclusion, we can say that we check our smartphones as the first thing in the morning, and it is the last thing we deal with before we go to sleep. It has changed our habits. We are always online, and we are always able to date, pay bills, and get news on the go. In the future, the smartphone will become even smarter and work like a personal assistant.
Our online self has become a part of who we are, even when we are offline, and the gap between our online and offline identities are getting smaller as the social media and the use of the smartphone are becoming a bigger part of our everyday life.
Thank you for your attention.
And thank you for listening.